Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Style by C. On today's tutorial, I'll be talking on how to draft a milkmaid dress as seen in the pictures.
Okay, so
So
this is
we're
what I
starting
have.
off with
This
the
is
drafting,
milky.
then there'll be a second video on
But
how
the next
to
thing to do now.
sew it. So stay tuned and thanks so much for subscribing.
So now I'm marking the line. This is going to be my start point and my shoulder line, which is X. Alright. The next thing I'm going to be marking is my shoulder measurements. 7.5. I'll mark 1 inch down. For shoulder slope, 3 inches for my neck width. Right. I just want to create a basic body first. Then from here, I'm going to be marking 7.5 inches. Then I'll divide my shoulder measurement by 2, coming by half an inch to create my shoulder curve, my armhole curve, sorry. Alright. Then the next thing I'm going to be marking is from this shoulder line, I'm going to mark my half length. Okay, so my half length is 16.5 inches. Yours can be 15, yours can be 17, 18. It varies. You take your appropriate measurement. So this is my half length. Okay. The next thing I'll be marking is my nipple to nipple measurement. Mine is 8 divided by 2 is 4. I'm marking it here. Then I'll roll a line across. Okay. Then the next thing I'll be marking now is my bust line measurement, which is 10 inches, and my under bust, which is 13 inches. Okay. Then I'll mark a horizontal line across to identify it. Okay. So this is what I have. So I'll label it. This is my chest line C. Now this is my bust line, my under bust, and this is my waistline stroke my half length. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to come to my under bust measurements and mark 1 inches upwards this way. Okay, then I'm going to be using my curved drill to connect it from my under bust to that 1 inch I've marked already. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing very well. This is what I marked. So now the next thing I'm going to do is, remember we have 4 inches for our bust panel, that's nipple to nipple points. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to also mark it from this point. Now I'm going to mark it outward. This is my 4 inches. Then I'll be working with my curved drill again. I'm going to be connecting it from there. First of all, I'll connect from here to here. Sorry. To my armhole. Alright. That's to my under bust. Then I'll connect it to my armhole measurement. This way. This is what I have. All right, so now the next thing I'm going to be working on is the dart points. Here now on this my nipple to nipple line, I'm going to be marking my dart legs. So I'm working with 0.75 inches. You can decide to work with half an inch darts. It depends on how tightened you want it to be. So I'm working with 0.75 on both sides of my dart leg. Then I'm going to connect it to my nipple points or my bust line this way. Then this way. Then the next thing I'm going to be working on this area is where I want my the upper part to start from. All right, so you can decide to start from this area and join it, fine, but I want my own to come up a little bit, so I'll be starting from 6.5 inches. That's where I want it to start from. I don't want it to be too showy. Okay, so now, and I want it to have a little bit of a sweetheart neck inward. So what I did was to connect to my chest line. Okay, so this is what I'm going to be having. Then I'm going to curve this in this way. From here I'll be curving it in. All right, so now the next thing I'm going to be marking now is my actual bust measurement. So my bust measurement is 8.5 inches, which is here. I'll be adding my seam allowances. You can decide to add 2.5, 2 inches, 1.5 inches, depends on how much you can control. Then my waist measurement is 7 inches. Then this is 1.5 inches I used for my dart. I'll be adding it back here, plus half an inch joining allowance, then 2 inches seam allowance, actual seam allowance. Then I'm going to connect. Right now, there is one thing I noticed at this area now where I have my actual bust measurement to fall on the line I've marked already. Like here now, I decided to come in by half an inch. I altered it a little, so I'm redrawing my cup line this way. Okay, so I'm not working with this anymore. This is the actual cup I'm going to be working with, so I'll be cutting this off. So I'm leaving this area now because I want to use it and cut out for my back piece first, so after which I'll trim it out. So I'll be using this to cut out my back. Now I'm going to place it on top this way. Then I'm going to be giving 1.5 inches seam allowance. This is for my zip. This is for the zip. All right. Then the next thing I'm going to do is just to draft it out, cut it out. So this is for my back. I'll be marking 4 inches here, and my dash is going to start 1 inch below my chest line for my back piece. Okay. I have 4 inches here. Sorry. Then I'm going to be marking my dart line on both sides. So this is my dart. You can decide to fold it in if you don't want your dart line to show on your fabric while sewing. You can decide to fold it in this way and cut it out, or you can decide to leave it open and cut it. Then on your fabric you attach your dart to it. The choice is totally yours. So I'll be transferring this to fabric. Then I'm going to label this as my cup. So I'll be cutting this out now. So the next thing I'll be working on is this cup area. We have done with the back piece. Okay, so for this cup area, I see decided to come out a little. So now I'm going to come to the cup. Please don't ignore this line that is here. I'm working with this one, trying to find a way that is going to suit very well. I'm working with this middle line, please. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like. Then I'm going to fold this. Use my dart. I'm going to be folding it in wet. So I'll be transferring this to my fabrics, and this one is my back. Okay, so now the next thing I'm going to be doing to this is I'm going to be doing a spread and splash method on this. So now I'm cutting this area off. I didn't trim this out, it's just this sweetheart that I trimmed off. All right, so now I'll go ahead and slant this. Depends on how many pieces you want it to be. You can decide to make 7, 8. It totally depends on you, how many pieces you want it to appear. So now, so I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces. So I'll go ahead and label it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is what I have. Then I'm going to slash it. So after slashing it, this is what we have. It's now into pieces. Then I'm going to bring a fresh pattern paper. So I'm going to be pinning these on a fresh pattern paper now. So I'll come out with 1 inch first. The first one first. I don't know if you can see it very clearly. So I'm just trying to pin it here. Then the next thing to do is how puffy you want it to be. Like, if you want it to be fuller, you can use 3 inches, 4 inches. Depends on you how puffed you want it to be. But if you want it moderate, you can work with 1.5 to 1 inches. For me, I'll be working with 2 inches. All right, so now this is where my 2 inches is. That's where I'm going to place my. That's where I'm going to place the second one. Sorry, I'm looking for my number. What I did next was to place. This is the patterns I've already cut out. Remember, Then the next thing I did was to place it on another fresh pattern paper. Then from here to here, the difference between each one is 2 inches. You can decide to work with 1 inch or 1.5 inches depending on how full you want it to be. So I worked with 2 inches for mine. The difference between each is 2 inches. 2 inches, 2 inches. So what I have to do now is I'm going to retrace it. I'm going to be retracing this on my pattern line this way. So this is the fresh one I'm going to be cutting off. So this is what I got to do. So after doing this, I'll trace it round, then I'll cut it out.